It is match day, and Leeds United are set for a pretty damn big clash against Chelsea, which could end in any of the three different results, to be honest with you. It's sort of up in the air. I'm very, very confused by it, but let's talk through it together and see if we come to more of a sensible conclusion. Before I get started, like and subscribe and all that stuff, that'd be absolutely wonderful. About 50% of you aren't subscribed at the minute, which is a shame, so it'd be nice to have you on board. And also, I won't be able to really gesticulate with my hands or go through all of the graphics that I sort of arranged in advance because I'm currently holding a baby. So I can't click all the buttons. But that's okay because I'm doing my absolute bestest. So, to start with, we'll run through a bit of the team news for Leeds. So, in terms of injuries and stuff, Gruev has a late potential injury call. Isn't really super confident on him being able to play. There's not a ton of detail on it, but it's a sort of late fitness test kind of job. Calvert-Lewin is apparently struggling with an illness. There is some hope that he's available, but it's not the most sort of reassuring to be like, he might be around. I'm hoping he is because he's genuinely been one of our better players this season. But if not, I trust the boys that we've got. But outside of that, we have two players that are definitely not going to be available for Leeds United this weekend. First of all, being Anton Stack, who is unavailable in the same way that he was in the middle of the week. He's going to be out for the Birmingham match too, also potentially back in time for Villa. That's going to be a pretty big miss because Stack's presence in the midfield is something that is going to be quite important against the likes of a Chelsea. But we'll find out how that one goes. And also Pascal Struijk, who has some hip flexor issues, definitely misses Chelsea, probably back in time for Villa. But that's another pretty big one because I think the way that... No, in fact, I'll get into that in a minute's time also, just because I think that's probably the best suited for it. Outside of that, everyone else is available, which is very, very nice. So in terms of tactics, I think you probably shift James Justin over to the left centre-back spot, sort of filling in for Pascal Struijk, and sort of taking the position that James Justin was in. You plonk Jakob Biol in there because if Biol is available, he probably plays. He's been very, very good as part of that back three. Biol is more sort of the central guy, though, because Rodon floats around a little bit. I think that's... Either way, those three are the back three. In my opinion, it might be a little bit different, but that's the way that I would do it. In addition to that, if possible, I would stick with Ilya Gruev in that midfield, just because he's a very, very good option to have. There's potential for Tanaka to come in if Gruev is actually having those issues, and potential for Longstaff as well, because I think there is maybe a chance that we go with that sort of three in midfield setup with Aronson as a sort of winger behind Calvert-Lewin. But I think with the weird sort of setup of injuries we've got at the minute, I think the two in midfield makes a little bit more sense. In terms of the way that we need to approach this from our perspective, their wingers tend to play relatively tight, relatively inside. So, for example, Cole Palmer has been playing as something of a winger as of late, which is something that we'll need to pay attention to, but he's a winger that likes to cut inside and drift inwards. Pedro Neto is someone that likes to cut inside and drift inwards. The sort of setup that you can expect from them typically is a 4-2-3-1-ish, with Enzo Fernandez being sort of the middle of the three, but also sort of part of the two in the sort of 4-3-3 kind of thing. Rafinha's got a little bit of a weird thing going on at the minute, but interesting fact that I found out earlier. A Liam Rafinha side has never beaten a Daniel Farke side. It's been one draw and one win for Leeds United. So hopefully that manages to fall in our direction. That'd be absolutely wonderful. In addition to that, something that we learned in our match against them earlier in the season is that they can tend to struggle with composure on the ball in the defensive third. They're a side that we can press incredibly hard and they will make some mistakes. It's just about forcing those mistakes if we can, and if we can't, then we try and find a way to force them anyway. Just try and get a little bit creative with it, make sure that we're pressing them here, there, and absolutely everywhere. And eventually they will make enough mistakes for us to be able to take advantage. If that doesn't pay off, there is a chance that we do the thing where we sort of sit back a little bit, and that is a little bit scary and risky because they have some very, very good attacking players. Cole Palmer, by the way, I think is a touch overrated. Like, he's sort of coasting on the fact that he had a very, very good season like 2 years ago-ish, but since like 6 months before the Club World Cup, he wasn't really anywhere. But regardless, whatever. I think one of the things that we need to do is be very, very sort of defensively solid and cut down on the mistakes. The individual errors are the things that are ultimately making us concede goals in every single match that we play. So if we're able to just not do that, and I know it's such a weird thing to be like, yeah, just don't make mistakes, but be as attentive as we can, cut out those errors, and we can beat any side in this league. We know we can, except Arsenal, because they're Arsenal. But there's something in it for us. We just need to sort of make that happen. And sort of in the same vein, the big lads need to do the job at the set pieces. I saw a bit of data pop up earlier that compared to XG, Pascal Struijk is the third most underperforming player in the league, because he's got something like 2.69 XG more than his number of goals scored. That's a case of we're getting plenty of chances from set pieces, we just need to put them away more. And if we can do that against Chelsea, that'd be beautiful. They're not a side that is renowned for their brilliance when it comes to defending set pieces, so there's somewhere that we've got a little bit of an opportunity. Ultimately, the way that I'm looking at this is this could be one of those really, really tough games, or it could be one that goes in our favour. We're never fantastic in London, we are good under the lights. They are Chelsea, we beat them firmly earlier in the season. There's factors in both directions, and I think if we play to our best of abilities, there is no reason we can't come out of this with a win. At the same time, they have a very, very, very expensive squad, very high quality team that can cause a hell of a lot of problems for us. If you have a look at their lineup, João Pedro is a ridiculously good footballer. Pedro Neto, signed from Wolves, is something of a marvel for them. Esteval, ridiculously good footballer, can cause significant problems for any team that he plays against. However, they're also a team that have ridiculously short tempers that often get players sent off. So there's something to be gotten at there. So I think take our opportunities, get a bit niggly, make it an unclean game, make them as deeply unhappy as we feasibly can. And there's a pretty significant chance we get something from this. In my opinion, I think this ends as a draw, but I can see us winning. Depends on the injuries, obviously. If Calvert-Lewin isn't available, things get significantly worse. If Gruev isn't around, then we lose a player that is a very, very reliable engine in the middle of the park. But if they're here, I see no reason that it won't work out. But we'll find out. And as always, that's just what I think. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. It is very, very genuinely appreciated. I've not had a chance to read all of them recently because someone is taking a lot of my time and attention. Understandably, I feel like I am allowed to give my time and attention to this tiny person, but that's fine. But I'm still going to do my best to skim through everything. I don't get to respond to everything, but I will do my best to read. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're not yet, that's also great. And yeah, I will see you later. Over on Big Up, where I'll be hanging out with Joe half an hour before the match, and also at half time. Yay, see you there, toodaloo. That was a rambly end. Ah well.